Alex Perez is in a really interesting predicament right now in the flyweight division. He's arguably the most active that he's ever been. This is going to be his third fight that he's had this year. That's going to tie him for the most activity since 2017. He's a resurgent candidate. He was a dude who was a legit contender, got pushed out to obscurity a little bit, and is now making another run. However, the UFC does what the UFC does, and they go ahead and they say, you want to continue to make this run? We'll give you the opportunity, but we're going to give you the undefeated, the prospect, Tatsuro Taira, and that's what we're here to break down, folks. So, again, welcome back to another episode. My name is Derick G, and breaking it down with me, as always, my co-host, the Santa Fe Bomber, the New Mexico native, AJ. Welcome to the gauntlet, brother. This is what happens time and time again. A proven veteran gets thrown up against the young stud that they're really trying to make a push on. So my question to you straight off the bat, brother, is implications. This has high implications, arguably the highest stake implications that Alex Perez has had since his former formidable contender days. Would you agree?
Oh, absolutely, Derek. And it's not only is it on the Alex Perez side, but Tatsuro Taira also has some implications here, man. He can keep this run going that he's on. Don't forget that this man, like you said, undefeated, on a run right now. And with one of the best opponents he's faced, this has all the makings for a great fight weekend.
This is what you would call the rub, right? Alex Perez can give Taira the rub that he needs. Similar to Kamaru Usman, right? When he fought Chimaev, you can argue that Chimaev got the rub by beating the former greatest, I'm not going to say greatest middleweight, but, you know, relatively speaking, all that good stuff. Beating Kamaru Usman, that was a very big feat. So big opportunities at hand, and that's what we're here to break down, folks. So without any further ado, let's go ahead and let's jump straight into a quick record recap. Give you guys just a recap on where we're sitting on the year. Take a quick look down below, and as you can see, it is an even scoreboard. 60 and 40 a pop, 60% on the year for both of us. So AJ, just real quick, give the people a word about what the percentages mean, what we're fighting for. Nothing too long and drawn out, but before we jump into it, what are we talking about?
Folks, if you've seen how this year's been going, you know Derek and I have been battling back and forth for the lead on this one. But what those numbers mean to me, man, is we're more often than not putting money in your pocket. And that, at the end of the day, right, we can hold all the belts, we can go for the glory. But at the end of the day, we're trying to put money in your pockets, and we're doing it consistently more than anybody else out there. Those numbers mean cash for you folks. That's why I like seeing that. We're trying to get it above 70% for you. So make sure you're over here clicking the subscribe button, because you know where you're cashing in.
At the end of the day, you just kind of got to think about it like this, folks. You're at a party, you're with your boys, maybe there's a couple of ladies there, hopefully that's the scenario, right? And you over here trying to look like a stud saying, hey, this is who's going to be winning this fight. Do you got the time to break down hours of film the way that we do it for you? No, absolutely not. So you tune into the Bloody Water podcast, we get you covered, you make money, and you look awesome in front of your friend group. That's the point. If that's not a good value prop right there, I don't know what is. Smash the subscribe button. We're going to start off with the consensus picks. And as I kind of alluded to, folks, Ikram Aliskerov, not on the card. Let's just remove that from your minds. He is going to be scheduled to fight Robert Whittaker next week, UFC Saudi Arabia. We'll talk about that more in a bit. 3 picks for the consensus picks right here, AJ. Ikram Aliskerov, Timmy Kawamba, Douglas Silva de Andrade, and Asu Almabayev. So the question that I have for you, as always, a tale as old as time is what I should say. Give us the theme for the consensus picks, brother.
The theme this week, folks, is momentum and scrappy nature, man. All these fighters, they're moving, but they also have that dog in them, and I see that leading to victories right here.
All right, let's see how scrappy it gets. A little unconventional, a little out of order, but let's go ahead and, of course, talk about these UFC Vegas 93, just the betting card on each prospective fight, right? We have consensus picks across the board. There's only one contentious pick. It's the main event. Tatsuro Taira, Alex Perez. I'm rolling with Taira. AJ's rolling with Perez. Very clear cut. So what we want you to do, folks, screenshot, run to your local sports book, and whether you win or you lose, but we know you're going to win, we want you to drop a comment down below and just let us know how we're doing, because we are working for you. All right, next up, props, baby. Let's go. I'm on a little bit of a streak, but AJ, you got to get a bounce back here. So I'm going to let you go first, brother. Talk to the people about your prop.
I do need a bounce back, and I think this is the fight to get it done. We got Becky versus Costa, a couple finishers right here, looking to make a move at only, 2.5 minutes left in their fight. A lot of time to get this done. I like the under at plus 105 for this.
I actually think that's a very respectable bet to get at plus money right here. I thought personally that would be a minus money for the under 2.5, but that's what we got there. I'm rolling with, you got some bantamweights right here. Douglas Silva de Andrade, of all 38 years old, versus Miles Johns. This is going over 2.5 rounds, minus 200. I'm looking to get on the 3-fight win streak right here and just kind of see how things play itself out. So with that being said, that's your prop lock, not prop guess. That is your prop lock, folks. Lock that thing in. And then to conclude this section, we do have a parlay. We are finally surging a little bit here, AJ. I think we had a twofer the last go around, man. So let's go ahead and let's break down the first parlay. Talk to us about the first one, the one on top. What do we got there?
Ooh, we're going Fernandez and Justice again, over, right? Over 2.5, and then Armfield versus High Stand. If you're a fan of any of these fighters, folks, you know they're out there. They're technical. They're going to be going the distance in this one. I like the overs for all of them, and I'm pretty sure both are minus money. If you take them alone, you pair them up, we're looking at plus 127. A nice payout just for a two-leg parlay.
Absolutely, right there. And I'm going to go ahead and break down the second one. Josh Quinlan versus Adam Fugit, under 2.5 rounds. To me, that by itself right there should be like minus 10,000. You know what I mean? These dudes are absolute finishers right here. Luckily, we got it for a better ticket price. But we're going to combine that together with Twilight Timmy Kawamba versus Lucas Almeida, over 1.5 rounds. And I'm going to talk to you guys in a little bit when we break down that fight, just about what I'm kind of seeing right there. But I think over 1.5 is totally fair. You put them together, plus 190. If you're talking about value right there, folks, on a parlay, on a twofer like that, we're going to smash that. So, of course, we're looking to get this record way up right there. Those are the Bloody Water Podcast parlays. So have some fun, cash them in, and let's make some money. All right, folks, with that being said, next up, we're going to go ahead and do a main card breakdown. Let's go ahead and let's get
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your hosts, Derick G and AJ.
All right, folks. Well, you know what the deal is. We're going to go ahead and break down all 4 bouts. It's a weird one, this go around, folks, but we're going to break it down all the way from the main event, opening up to the first bout of the main card, and we're going to give you everything in between. So let's go ahead and let's just jump straight into Alex Perez versus Tatsuro Taira. AJ, the story again here, it's really about flyweight implications. It's about, can Alex Perez continue his resurgence? Can he stay that guy, that contender in the flyweight division? Or is he simply going to be a gatekeeper for the next generation, the Tatsuro Tairas of the world? Which, if you look at it, man, we're looking at about 5-fight win streak in the UFC, a couple finishes. This dude gets people out there early. And if there's one word that I use to kind of describe Taira ever since the beginning of his UFC career, it's very surgical. I just say he's precise, man. When he gets to his spots, there's not a lot of wiggle room there. He's not going to give you many attempts to make a mistake for you to capitalize on something that he did. If he gets you in a position, he normally finishes the job and normally gets the finish through and through. So I just want to know, how formidable do you truly see Tatsuro Taira? Or are you sitting here saying, hey, another trap game right here, Alex Perez, that's truly the play?
No, I think Tatsuro Taira is very formidable in this position, Derick. Not only, like you said, is he calculated, is he precise, but he's also patient, even in situations when he's hurt or when he's on, the nail side of the situation. Man, Tatsuro Taira is able to stay calm, and at his young age, at his young career, man, that's very impressive. So I see a lot of trouble in this fight if you're an Alex Perez better going into this one, because of how technical, just in all the aspects that Tatsuro Taira is. The thing is, though, Alex Perez has seen exactly that time and time again. He's been in there with the best of them. Does the kid have something that Alex Perez hasn't seen yet?
Well, that's what I was going to say right there. That lends to his advantage. I mean, it's in his wheelhouse. Taira, generally speaking, wants to get the fight to the mat. And if you want to get the fight to the mat against Alex Perez, it's kind of one of those oxymorons, if you will. I'm probably not even using the word correctly, but if you think about Alex Perez's biggest struggles over the last real top-notch opponents, Pantoja choked him out. Figueiredo choked him out. Benavidez, there were some grappling exchanges, ended up TKOing him. But the point is he sometimes has problems within the wheelhouse. So when he's fighting a striker and it's not that guy who's going to choke him out, smash city, right? This is that interesting play right here. So that's the other question I want to build on top of it. Perez is more of a brute force type of guy. Like I said, Taira is a little bit more surgical in that aspect. When we saw Alex Perez versus Makayev, right? Makayev squeaked it out. He got the job done. Perez was formidable, and in those scrambles, he was able to reverse a lot of positions. We've seen Taira do fantastic things when he's on top controlling. Do you have that same confidence in him if Perez is able to hold him on his back?
I do actually. You know, it's crazy, Derek. I have a lot of confidence that Taira is going to be able to hit some switches, going to be able to wiggle out, and we're going to see a lot of high quality, high class stuff going on in this fight. That's going to be happening super fast. So you're going to have to be paying attention to this one, fans, because it's going to be chaos. And I see a washing machine style of fight in this one with how technical both these fighters are in that ground game, and I'm expecting this one to hit the ground for sure.
What do you make of the opening line? We didn't talk about it yet, but Taira, the but the undefeated fighter, minus 170 favorite at open, plus 140 comeback for Perez. It's crept up a little bit, minus 190 for Taira, and now plus 165 for Alex Perez. So there's a little bit of a line shift, but it's not as massive as I actually would have imagined. I think that this lends to a lot of credibility for Alex Perez and people just saying, hey, if this is a what have you done for me lately sport, Perez has been looking pretty good recently, bro. So what do you make of the line?
Yeah, Derek, I'm surprised it wasn't in that minus 200, minus 250 range for Tatsuro Taira. A lot of people, I mean, there's still fade in that Alex Perez is that old guy. And we talked about it so much. When you get to a certain age, you start to dwindle, right? Father Time is undefeated. So I'm surprised that this is that close of a line. It does lend to that, at least in his last performance. Alex Perez shocked a lot of people, and he got a lot of eyes on him, and a lot of bettors throwing money his way.
Yeah, no, I think that's totally fair right here. So let's talk about some of these props that we have right here. Of course, this is major opportunity for Taira, regardless of what happens. He's ranked 13. You get a shot against number 5. This is opportunity to crack that top 5. You don't only want to just win, you want to do it definitively. And if you look at Taira and if you look at the methodologies, man, lots of finishes. Neither fighter are really 5-round fighters here, even when they're scheduled for 5 rounds. Generally, it doesn't go that long. So if we're looking at a decision prop for either one of these fighters, who is the play right there? Because that's the big question. And I really do think that if you look at the odds, plus 475 for Perez, plus 525 for Taira, it goes to show that if this fight gets extended, it really turns into a coin toss. What do you think?
Absolute coin toss, Derek. I was trying to think of who's going to be the one that's sharper, right? Sharper in those last bit of rounds. Because like you said, neither of them are 5-round fighters. I was just looking at the average fight time. It's like 6.5 minutes for Perez, almost 10 minutes for Taira. But again, we're talking about a 25-minute fight here. So I don't know. It seems like a coin toss. I'm leaning towards Alex Perez in that coin toss, leaning on that, that veteran mentality, that grittiness that he'll have. And hopefully he's able to drown Taira and drag him into those bloody waters. But man, I mean, yeah, coin toss all day long. What do you think about that submission, Derek? I know we were saying before, the submission for Taira, we were saying before, Alex Perez suffers a little bit in that situation. Plus 120 looks pretty juicy. What do you think?
See, I think it's really interesting because plus 120 for Taira for the submission, plus 1,000 for Perez. And it just makes me think to myself, Perez is more of a TKO type style fighter, a little more brute force. But yeah, I think Taira, man, when he gets you, again, surgical. That's why I'm backing him in this one, is just because I think when he finds his spots, it's just a matter of repetition, right? You get there so many different times. If Alex Perez wants to lean on his wrestling a little bit, some things might lend to, you give up your back in order to try to get back up to your feet, and Taira capitalizes. Something of that nature. Again, this could backfire because you start playing that guard stuff a little bit too much, end up on your back, and then that's where Alex Perez on top, that's where he thrives right there. So I really like the plus 120 submission for Tatsuro Taira. Here's my question. Ticket price, plus 120. Is that enough juice for you to lay it down on submission completely for a Taira?
No, Derek, it's not. Yeah. Plus 120, it's just shallow enough. I'm not with it.
How about this? 2.5 rounds, over and under.
Ooh, over, right in the middle, man. I think the over. What about you?
Okay. I like the over here. I think the over, it's tough because they both, finishing fighters, right? Minus 145 for the over right there. So I think when you're betting this bout right here, if you're not definitive on who you think is going to win or lose, over 2.5 rounds, I love that price right there. I'll pay that all day long. So yeah, that's really what we have right here. When it comes down to it, give me this one last piece, and I want you to just kind of take over for this one. Just let us know what you're thinking. On the feet, sometimes we see two grapplers, they go against each other. It turns into a kickboxing match right here. Perez is much more of the power striker. We saw the beautiful knockout in the last fight. Taira, yeah, he's got some flashy stuff right here, but we don't see him on the feet as much as we see him just trying to get the fight to the mat. So who outlasts each other on the feet if it stays there?
Oh, Alex Perez all day long, Derek. You're talking about a dog. You're talking about a guy that's gritty. And we saw in that Nicolau knockout, he caught him just in chaos, brother. And that's what I'm expecting right here. The pressure from Perez, going to be walking him down. We're going to see how Tatsuro Taira is going to be able to handle that pressure when he's the nail in his fight.
That's right, and I don't think that's the thing. I'm betting Taira, but I agree with you. I think that Perez, if he could keep this one standing right here with the big bombs, he's going to try to force Taira to go ahead and shoot and then work his offense off of that one. So should be an interesting play right here. I like the over 2.5 rounds. I think that's a consensus smash right there. I'm rolling with Tatsuro Taira. I'm happy with the ticket price of -190 alone. We're not talking about methodologies. AJ, go ahead and round out your pick.
I like Alex Perez, and it's crazy enough, Derek. I'm going with that plus 475 decision. I think this fight's going to be a lot like the Chairez fight that Tatsuro Taira had. We're going to see a decision. Well, hopefully, if you're like you said, though, over 2.5, that's Smash City all day long.
I love that you brought that fight up because let's not forget that Chairez ended the fight with Tatsuro Taira in a mounted guillotine right there. Lost the fight handily, but either way, something to definitely think about. So, folks, that is your main event, Alex Perez versus the undefeated stud Tatsuro Taira. Let's see who comes up on top. And AJ, I told him, right? Let me go ahead and let me break the news. All right. So, as we mentioned, folks, the Ikram Aliskerov fight, breaking news. Like, obviously, if we had enough time and this was announced beforehand, this graphic wouldn't even be here. But this was so sudden, we definitely needed to talk about it before we recorded it here today. The fight is off, right? Aliskerov is now booked to fight Robert Whittaker next week, UFC Saudi Arabia. So, watch out for that breakdown next week. And then, in the meantime, this one just got straight up canceled. But we have a little bit of rhyme and reasoning here. So, let me go ahead and let me bring up the clip. Shout out to the boss man, Dana White, and let's just hear what the man has to say.
What's up, everybody? So, a little news here. Unfortunately, Khamzat Chimaev is out of the fight next weekend in Saudi Arabia, violently, and I mean violently ill. So,
all right, real quick, AJ, violently ill is the story here for Khamzat Chimaev. Guram Kutataladze actually posted up a picture with Khamzat just like laid up in a bed, and it looked like something terrible had happened, right? That's just like what the allusion to it was. I'm not going to show that photo, but when you hear violently ill Khamzat Chimaev, knowing that he had like a COVID bout a couple years ago where he had almost retired, from the sport, a lot of people are saying that Khamzat Chimaev is arguably one of the biggest what ifs of the sport, given that his immune system clearly is just compromised and is not supporting him the way that it should be. My question is, right here, ma'am, what do you make of this Dana White allusion to violently ill for Chimaev?
I think Uncle Dana is trying to look out for one of his cash cows, trying to throw a little emphasis on the word violently, right? So he doesn't catch a lot of flack being sick all the time. Because, yeah, man, Chimaev can't catch a break at all. And when I heard this news, it's exactly what I thought. Has to be something sick-wise, travel-wise, anything like that. Interesting to see Dana just coming to defense.
I have a little bit of a different theory. My theory is this. My theory is that this is a UFC Saudi Arabia card. The UFC and the Saudis, I think that they're closed up. They're tight-knit, right? And I think that they needed to deliver a big name. And given that they had to fall short, of course, when it's out of your control, it's a week before the fight, man. It's hard to find a replacement. I was actually looking through the middleweight division. I was like, there's no big names who aren't already booked right now that you could just throw in there right now. So my thought process is he's saying, hey, listen, let me throw a little exaggeration on this. You know what I'm saying? Just so the princes, they know, hey, listen, we'd do it if we could, but we can't. And let's not forget, Chimaev, I don't think he's cleared the fight in the U.S. either. So if he fights, it has to be internationally, most likely in Saudi Arabia. Might not see him for another calendar year, brother. Not sure what's going on there, but not good. Let's go ahead and just kind of round out this clip.
he's going back home, and hopefully he gets well soon. The replacement, Ikram Aliskerov.
All he's saying is like, listen, nobody wants to fight this guy. I guess they offered him a bunch of different fighters. Hey, do you want to fight Aliskerov?
Here's to another main card breakdown, courtesy of your host.
Do you want to fight Aliskerov? And the answer for everybody across the board was pretty much no. We want nothing to do with that on short notice. So he's really hyping Aliskerov off. And if you take a look at what this number was projected to be at open, -1,000, recent odds -1,600, bouts canceled. So we got nothing else to talk about there. AJ, any final words before we move on to the next bout?
Hey man, I'm excited for next weekend. Bobby Knuckles versus Aliskerov. This one's gonna be a fun one.
Yes, sir. All right, now back to action right here. So, newly found, maybe a co-main event. We'll see how the bout lineup shakes up. Timmy Kawamba, Twilight Timmy, he gets back in his, let's call this the real debut, right? The first one was just a quick shot, up a weight class at lightweight, fighting a monster of a fighter right there, who he lost a split decision to. But now you get the debut versus Lucas Almeida right here. And I actually think this is almost a tailor-made matchup right here, AJ. Kawamba, light on his feet, good grappling, good wrestling right here. Almeida, Almeida's been suffering against some of the grappling, and I think this is one of those, all right, brother, if you want your opportunity, you really want to shine right here, we'll keep you around, right? But the problem is we're going to give you unfavorable matchups. And if you look at the last 5 fights or so, 2 and 3 in the last 5, you got to prove it right now. This is a back against the wall type situation. So let's speak on the Almeida camp first before we jump into just kind of the overall matchup. You open up as a plus 145 dog. You're a nasty kickboxer, but you are having a little bit of a hard time keeping the fight on the feet. What's the path to victory for Lucas Almeida here?
Man, the big path to victory is hopefully he improved his ground game and his defense at least a little bit going forward, because everybody has seen how big of a hole that is. But if that isn't the case, right, if Almeida hasn't found that bit of game yet, distance, and it's going to be very, very hard to do because of how good of a counter striker Kwamba is. But if you're able to maintain that distance, just keep things at bay, it make this a point match. As boring as that is to say, you don't want to go in and just battle it out and then end up getting taken down. And now it's 3 losses in a row. Point match it up, stay at distance, stay speed, and stay calculated. And if that is the case, I mean, it still could be a very fun fight between these two with how dangerous they are on the feet. But man, I'm saying if you're Almeida, speed all day long. Do you see any other outcome that Almeida could do to kind of get this advantage in this fight?
Yeah, man, I think you got to work behind a jab if you can. Just keep popping that jab out there and give him something to think about. It's all the classic time old, tales or whatever. I'm sorry, I'm blanking on the verbiage. Uppercuts down the middle, knees, all the little stuff that says, don't shoot on me, because if you do, there's going to be real issues here. The problem is I really like Timmy Kwamba's footwork. I really, really like his footwork. This dude is agile, very light on his feet, and I don't think he's going to try to force a takedown. I think he will strike with Almeida to start. So that's where you have to be careful, and let's start assessing minus 175 at open. If I'm taking a look at the current line right now, another small shift, minus 195 for Kwamba, plus 165 for Almeida. So definitely money is being thrown Kwamba's way. And I think rightfully so, man. I really thought on that first fight, right? We were giving him nothing but high praises, but we were saying you're up a weight class, short notice, not the best look. He lost the fight. Reasonably, this is ideal right here. This is a fine ticket price for me, and I actually think it's almost a little bit of a steal, because I think people are a little sleep on Timmy Kwamba based on that first fight. So when we're talking about getting the fight to the ground right here, one thing that Kwamba does really, really well is he starts setting up his attacks, like his submission attacks, as he's transitioning from position to position, right? So it's not like, all right, I'm going to get into your guard, I'm going to fucking break your guard, go into half guard, transition over. It's like as he's transitioning to that half guard, he's got his arm around your neck so that when he takes your back, he could just choke you out. I don't want to go deep in terms of the betting right here, because we already got enough to work with right here. But if you had to throw like a percentage, 0 to 100%, what are the odds that this fight finishes Timmy Kwamba rear naked choke?
Ooh, specifically rear naked choke? Man, I'm thinking 30%. 30%. Okay. Just because, I mean, it can happen. It's one of the ones he doesn't do it, at least in his last 10. He's only gotten 1? No.
Yeah, I think 1.
No, he lost to rear naked choke. That's it.
Oh, yeah, there we go.
30%, Derek.
All right, 30%. Fair enough. I think just from assessing film, that's really where I'm getting it from. Not even from actually like results and stuff like that, because obviously he's got a lot of TKOs on his record. But the way he sets it up, man, the way he just laces up that arm, I can see Almeida giving up that neck and then giving up the back, and this fight wraps up right there, which then lends to submission prop plus 750. You have to just think. 2 paths of victory right here. The submission route, or the grappling route, really, I should say. Do you think a club and sub situation happens as opposed to just a ground and pound? Do you think that if he gets this fight to the ground, he can end the fight there?
I do think Kwamba can end the fight if he gets this to the ground, especially if Almeida is still worried about all the ground lacking or the inefficiencies he has in his ground game. But then, like you said, club and sub, or just beat him up until the ref comes in and stops it. Both of those seem like a very outcome if you're a Kwamba bettor.
And let's not forget, man, because I think that a lot of people, they kind of discredit Almeida a little bit. This dude came in with a lot of hype, man. This dude is nasty. If you look at the repertoire right here, he's got a ton of submissions on his record too, bro. He's got rear naked chokes. He's got arm triangle chokes, all the good stuff, man. A ton of knockouts, guillotine chokes. The man is good, bro. Like, we're not sitting here saying, like, oh, he gets to the ground, the fight is over. I just think that Timmy Kwamba, look at the man's back. The man is built to be a wrestler. He's a Vegas guy right here. Trains with a couple of my buddies. All I'm saying is that you get this man, you get him in his weight class right here. I think he's going to show up and show out. I will just kind of wrap up things right here with the props. If this fight goes to a finish, which is very, very likely to do so, man, then we need to go ahead and start thinking about these overs, these unders, all the different, kind of props that we could play with. The over on this one, it's actually, 2.5 rounds is where it's set at. The under is the favorite, AJ. Minus 140 for the under, plus 110 for the over. So my question is minus 140 a ticket price you're willing to pay for an under on this one?
It is, Derek. It is minus 140. I like that because it's more than, especially what you said, 2.5?
2.5, yeah.
2.5. Yeah, that's more than half the fight, man. That's a lot of time for these finishers to get going. And I actually like the TKO prop. I mean, plus 750. If you're ballsy enough to cash in on a submission for Kwamba all day long, I like the TKO prop for the ground and pound. But either way, under 2.5 makes a lot of sense.
It's tough right here. This is one for me in particular where I've really tried to just kind of play around with what do I think is a certain lock right here? And this one is still hard to tell, bro. It just depends on what Almeida's willing to put out and if Kwamba can feel comfortable in that like true debut type role right here. So I like Timmy Kwamba just as a pure money line pick, minus 195. Let me take a look. Yeah, minus 195 is the current line right there. So again, I'm good with that one. I wouldn't officially place a bet anywhere else particularly, but yeah, let's go ahead and let's keep it rolling. Timmy Kwamba, that is the play right there. All right, AJ, next up. Let's go ahead and let's talk about Douglas Silva de Andrade versus Miles Johns. I'm actually a little bit surprised right here because this opened up as a pick, a minus 110 a pop. You take a look at the line right now, plus 115 for Silva de Andrade, minus 135 for Miles Johns. You got to think that that's fair. Even with the questionable faces and all that good stuff, you have to think it's fair just based off of the runs that both fighters have been on, right? Johns has looked good. Let's just say if you didn't watch the fights and you just looked at just like the paper and you see wins and losses, you probably think he's doing a little bit better than he actually was. But there's one big issue that I just want to bring to the table right here, AJ, and it is cardio. There we go. I was even blanking on it because I was like, man, this is such a big time thing that I've been thinking about. Cardio is the real issue that we're seeing with Miles Johns. Not early, but we're starting to see it second half of the second round and moving forward. So what do you think?
Yeah, absolutely. That's one of the biggest things I was writing down too, because I see both of these fighters, they kind of have that bullheadish style where I think they're going to be meeting up a lot. Things aren't necessarily going to go one fighter's way the entire time. I mean, that could always happen, obviously, but I see this one kind of being a back and a forth leading to that gas tank issue that we're talking about. We've even seen, I mean, even though Andrade, this dude is a wild man, well-rounded, he puts a lot of pressure on you, we can still see him taper off a little as well because of how wild he can be. And I think that in combination with both fighters, it's going to lead to some gas tank issues for sure.
And as you can see, if you take a look at the big screen right here, man, I mean, listen, Silva de Andrade is old too, like no disrespect, but man's 38 years old, right? So you would look at it and most people would probably be on Johns. You just look at the age, you look at the skill sets, all that good stuff. But I do package Silva de Andrade in that same cloth that's cut as like a Joe Anderson Brito almost in a way, man. We're just a ball of muscle, relentlessness. You gotta give it full stop. That's where he is. He's all in or he's all out, man. There's no in between. And if you look at that last win against Cody Stamann, man, I'm like, well, that bodes very well for this Miles Johns matchup right here. If he could avoid getting taken down and he can keep the fight standing and he could break Miles Johns down, and especially if he could make Johns try to grapple and stave off the takedowns, I see Johns starting to wither the later the fight goes, which makes me just feel like Douglas Silva de Andrade is just a pure live dog right here. What else you got on that?
Yeah, no, I agree with you, Derek. Live dog for sure, especially now that the odds has switched from a pick'em. The only thing that has been concerned about Andrade or betting on Andrade is when the fight gets going, he sometimes overextends on his punches, and that can lead to the takedowns we're talking about, and that's what he needs to avoid. But Andrade has been more calculated as he's gotten, in his latest fights. Like you said, even in the Cody Stamann fight, we've seen him be more calculated. I like Andrade for this one. I'm not leaning any specific way besides money line, just because I think there could be so many things that how this one goes down. I'm rocking with the money line.
That's it right there. But I will say this, man. I just want to point this out to the people who don't know. If you look at the losses on Silva de Andrade's like last 10, right? You're looking at some good names, dude. Saeed Nurmagomedov, Lerone Murphy, Piotr Yan, Rob Font. Those are the only losses. There's a reason the man gets this opportunity at 38 years old, right? It's because you're actually with it. You're actually legit. Miles Johns, on the other hand, you got 2 losses, Mario Batista and John Castaneda. I'm not going to discount those losses because those are some great names right there. But you seen with, the sexy Mexi John Castaneda, up and down career. Mario Batista definitely surging right there. And he had that no contest against Dan Argueta as well. Let's not forget that one. So should be a really interesting matchup right here, but I think that the live dog is the play. Douglas Silva de Andrade at plus, again, one more time, 115. And I'm just going to sprinkle in a little something, folks. I do really want to consider the, I just had it up, over right here at 2.5 rounds, over 2.5 rounds. That, for me, we're locking that one in no matter who wins right there. So big time fight feels right there. All right. And then because this is a short one today, folks, the starting bout right here, Asu Amabayev versus Jose Johnson. AJ, how many times do you see a 6 foot, 125-pound man fight in the octagon right here? Because it's not a common commodity right here. And even Jose Johnson, the man, I don't think he has actually made officially 125 pounds yet. So what do you think about this?
I don't think ever, Derick. I mean, at that size, I don't think ever. We're talking who? Oh man, I can't even, I'm blanking names because I have no idea who's even in the 125-pound class that would be above 6 foot. So, right, it's crazy. I'm excited to see if, like you said, even if he does officially make the weight, because that's a crazy build, man. For him to be cutting down to that from whatever he is, you're 6 foot, you're easily walking around 150, plus. Yeah, this is gonna be interesting to see how he gets it done.
So my biggest question right here, and this is just not even if you weren't a fan of the sport, right? If you didn't break things down, even if you didn't even watch casually, right? A 6 foot man versus a 5'4" man, you would automatically be like, oh yeah, Johnson's the favorite. He's a 6 foot fucking stab. What are you talking about, man? This dude could hit you from the other side of the cage. If we're looking at the reach, actually, it's not that bad. 71 inches for Johnson and then 65 inches for Amabayev. So I'm imagining that entire reach is probably in his legs or something. You know what I mean? That's where all that length is coming from. But that gives you inherent advantages right there. And if you actually look at Energy, Charles Johnson, right? He's fought Jose Johnson twice on the regional circuit. And he mentioned that when he fought, first it was catch weights. Jose Johnson didn't make that weight. But he said when they did fight, that he could just feel the difference in the size and the range. And he still wrestled his way to a victory. So that brings us to the bout that we're at here. Path to victory, Amabayev. You make no chances. You take none, zero risks. You wrestle this man up, and that's how you get your victory. Do you see any other path to victory for Amabayev?
No, that's like you said, man. Get on the inside, get him down, and don't let that long length really do some damage. I mean, it seems like the odds makers are also thinking this one's going to get to the ground pretty quick. Minus 110 for the submission. That's pretty much everybody's first train of thought right here.
So other question right here is that, do you think that being able to wrestle very well is good enough to land an opening ticket price of minus 335 for Amabayev, given you have the massive height and reach disadvantages?
No, not only wrestling, Derick, not only trying to get a takedown. I don't think that demands or validates a minus of this magnitude right here. But you got to remember, I mean, Asu Amabayev, he does have a couple other intangibles out there, and I like him because he does. I mean, it's a little bit of a predictable, right? Crash in and then shoot. But he is able to damage you whenever he is crashing in. He has a couple things he could work for right here.
Don't get me wrong. All respect to Amabayev. I think this dude is totally skillful. I think he's an awesome fighter. I just think that a lot of your tools will not work with that large of a discrepancy. Have you ever tried to punch up before? It's not the same. You know what I mean? So if you're trying to throw your punches and you're practicing against people who are relatively in a 3-4 inch differential to where you're at, all right, cool. You're talking about 8 inches, bro. I'm just saying, man, those are the little things people don't think about. The dynamics of where you're throwing your attacks are different. Only thing that I think is going to be the game plan here is you need to attack the body if you're Amabayev. But let's get off of the Amabayev side and let's talk, is there any possibility here for a live dog, Jose Johnson? This dude is 16-8 overall in his career, 1-1 in the UFC. Let's not forget, he submitted Shannon Helliger in his last fight right here. So we over here talking about you're going to get choked out and all that good stuff. He got a submission win to get avenged from getting submitted against Damon Blackshear, which we know is not a bad loss to take right there. But aside from staying standing and just trying to hit Amabayev on the end of your shots, do you see any realistic path to victory for Jose Johnson here?
Realistically, if I'm in Jose Johnson's camp, man, I am telling him avoid the takedowns at all costs. If this thing hits the mat, stand up, get out of there. Like we said before, knees up the middle, uppercuts, jab all day long. You have so much distance on this guy. Why even tempt fate and just go to the ground, man?
Lot of early finishes for Jose Johnson. On the other side for Amabayev, though, even though he's submitting a lot of people, and that's clearly why he's got a ton of submissions on his record. That's why the submission prop is valued at minus 110. Do you see any possibility this one going the distance?
No, I don't. You know what's crazy, Derek? Normally, I would say yes. Like most fights, there can be a way which this one goes. I don't see this one happening. Something in me right now, I don't know why it's telling me Jose Johnson can land a knockout early in this fight, or we're just going to see Asu Mabayev just dog Johnson all day long and get a submission either late or early to late in the fight.
1.5 rounds, over or under?
Man, I think this one's going to go under. What's the odds though?
Odds makers like the over. They have -195 for the over, +165 for the under, and I tend to agree.
Yeah, no, that's where I was debating because they both, I can see how it happens. But if Almabayev's able to close that distance early, or like I said, if Johnson's able to just land one and Almabayev isn't expecting it, things can happen. See, fight time for them is both a little bit over 10 minutes. I can see the over happening. I'm still going with the under.
Yeah, fair enough. This is the last thing that I'll say, bro. Given that Aliskerov, right, he was our -1600, just lock on the card right there. It makes me always just think about who's going to be the parlay buster on the card. And if we're just talking about these 4 fights for the main card fight, is Almabayev, could he be the parlay buster? Or do you feel that there's another fighter on the card that we've discussed that's a little more likely to be the parlay buster?
I think it might be Almabayev, Derek, and maybe this is just a gut feeling, folks, so don't bet too much on it. But I still feel like there's something Johnson can possess that's going to be able to do a little bit more than people are expecting in this fight.
This is something you can't read on paper. This is something that's an intangible, man. You just have such massive frame discrepancies. There's a reason why Jalen Turner at 6 foot, 155 pounds, we even say that's ridiculous. It's just 125 pounds. Again, we'll need to see if he can actually make the weight, because if he does, he will be 125 pounds for all of 10 minutes, right? And then we're going to balloon back up, but that's the fight game. Asu Almabayev, that is going to be the clear play. The only question that we wrap up here with, AJ, is do you actually place a wager on Asu Almabayev at what was -335 has turned into -650? Are we placing a wager on that?
I'm not. No, that's a stay away from me. Even at -110 for the submission, whatever that's grown to as well, because I'm sure it has. Nah.
Parlay?
Unless you want it busted.
That's right. Fair enough. All right. See, this is what, think with your minds, folks, man. Not just the emotion. You don't just bet just to bet. You have to have a very clear path to a return on your investment right there. All right, folks, that was your main card breakdown. So now we got to talk about the sleepers, the unknowns of today, but the stars of tomorrow. Of course, me and AJ, we like to break them down, shed a little light. So let's go ahead and let's jump into it. Let's get it, baby.
Time for some fight night.
And if you ain't paying attention, you're gonna sleep on me and I'm gonna wake you up.
Got a fun sleeper right here. Go ahead, take it away, my man.
Jekka Surtagai versus Weston Wilson. I'm pretty sure we've had Weston Wilson on the sleeper section before. Kind of run into a little bit of a mess, but this one's all about Jekka right here. And if I'm butchering the name, brother, sorry, but 14-3. This dude's an animal. A ton of finishes, early finishes on his record too. I think if you go back and look at it, even his last one, man, Lucas Alexander. Impressive win. This one's going to be a lot of fun, man. A lot of people are betting on Jekka right here. Jekka, excuse me. But this one makes me excited because Jekka right is a ultimate potential right in the future. If we can see him going and he has a good performance on Wilson, this is going to line him up very nicely. Pay attention to Jekka. This is going to be going far.
Yeah, he's a road to the UFC winner or something like that right now. Nasty, devastating KO in his last fight. Weston Wilson, let's not forget that. He got knockout lost by John Silva out of the Fighting Nerds Academy right there. Look at this, bro. They think that Jekka is going to put it on him. So this is a sleeper for very clear reasons right there, folks. You got to tune in. You got to tune in there. All right, I got a little bit of a cheater sleeper. I cheat on the sleeper sometimes, folks. This is common knowledge at this point. Nate Maness versus Jimmy the Brick Flick. And here's the reason it's a sleeper, if I'm being completely frank with you. It's because of my man Jimmy Flick. We know that he came out of retirement for whatever reason, even though he had a beautiful walk-off to walk away from the sport, and he's coming for heads at this point. If you take a look at the last victory, it was a submission win against Malcolm Gordon, arm triangle choke. If you look at Nate Maness, he's coming off of that. Remember that submission loss to Tagir, or the fight before it, Umar Nurmagomedov, where he got ragdolled, decisioned a million times, right? Or taken down a million times to lose a decision. Well, he bounced back, and he bounced back in great fashion against Mateus Mendonça, who, let's not forget, blue hair, Super Saiyan blue, Goku style, right? Knocked him out with the ground and pound. Nate Maness is not playing around here. And when you have a fun fighter in Jimmy the Brick Flick versus a dude who means all business in Nate Maness, I think that this is going to be a scrap at 125 pounds. But more important than that, I see a finish incoming right here. So that's what we're playing for. That's what we're hoping for. Put some respect on these guys' names, because even though they're established, they're not the unknowns per se, they still don't have that household name, and that's what we want to provide. Tune into the fight. This is going to be an absolute banger. And with that being said, AJ, now one thing left to do. Let's jump into a little bit of a prelim pour over. We still got a little bit of time, so let's see what we have available here today. Of course, let me just go ahead and bring up the big screen on the ESPN. And I want you to take it away, my man. Of course, we got a little bit of a mix-up, all types of craziness going on, but just tell me a fight that stands out to you, and we'll break it down.
I think the big one, Derek, the big one we got to talk about, Tagir Ulanbekov versus Joshua Van. We just talked about a guy that got beat by Ulanbekov on the same card, above him in the fight lineup. Man, this one's going to be a fun one because I am a big fan of Joshua Van as well. Looking for chaos. This one, dude, I'm excited. Dude, are you leaning one way or the other in this one?
To be honest, man, and I don't know if this is, we're guilty of it as well, right? You fall into the narrative sometimes, you fall into the recency bias. You see one fighter who's really surging and you just start rooting for him. And you're like, man, I want this guy to win. That's Josh Van. I want this guy to win. He's young, dude, 22 years old, boxing people up. Good takedown defense, the whole nine. But it's hard to deny Tagir Ulanbekov, man. You cannot deny the man. He's doing incredible. And let's go ahead and let me actually pull up the Topology just so we can get a side-by-side comparison right here and just see how these fighters are faring. Look at that for Tagir. This loss right here, let's not forget, very controversial loss, right? Like, a lot of people thought he won the fight. Tim Elliott squeaked it out. But Josh Van, knockout, decision, split decision right there, submission, knockout. Like, the man, he's doing very well. Tagir, though, Cody Durden submitted him. We cannot discount how big of a victory that is. If you look at Nate Maness, like I said, submitted him. Split decision to Alan Nascimento, who's fantastic jiu-jitsu in the Charles Oliveira camp, the Du Bronx camp. Bruno Silva, decision, man. Tagir's legit, bro. We know it. It's the Khabib camp right here, and I think that he does everything in his power to wrap up Josh Van and to try to get the submission. But if you can't do it, AJ, if you can't do it, Josh Van, you tell me, bro. Is this the play? Is Josh Van a live dog play? Do we throw something on there just cuz? Or do you be a smart bettor? A smart bettor isn't about value plays. A smart bettor is about accuracy and winning. So what is your take there?
I think if you're playing this one smart, Derek, I think it's a stay away if you're a Van bettor, just until we see Joshua Van able to defend somewhat, because he does have good takedown defense, but like you said, it's a Khabib camp. It's a whole nother game. It makes you feel a little strenuous going into that bet. So I'm saying stay away from it, but I do, in the heart right here, yeah. I'm rooting for Joshua Van.
Fair play on that one, man. So yeah, I couldn't have said it better myself. All right, let's see what else that the lineup has to offer here. Again, Josh Quinlan versus Adam Fugit. We didn't really break it down at all, but this is just guaranteed violence right here. Josh Quinlan's coming off of a devastating TKO loss. One, honestly, bro, where you might not come back the same fighter after a loss like he had. He got knocked down 3 times before Jason Herzog stepped in to stop it, even though, Cannonier, he didn't give my boy that same treatment right there. He stopped that one early, but that's a discussion to be had on another program. Question right here, bro. Who you leaning?
Ooh, man. Off the jump, I'm leaning Quinlan, but I think it's a lot. Well, I mean, those odds are pretty close to what I think it should be. Yeah, I'm going Quinlan on this one, Derek. What do you think?
I cannot deny the hype isn't the right word. I cannot deny Josh Quinlan, man. I think this dude's too good. I think, you lose a couple times, whatever. I think he jumps back. Adam Fugit's really good too, though, man. I just think that Quinlan has that little extra edge, that intangible edge that's going to be able to allow him to gut it out as long as he stay composed, don't get hit too much. It's the Bushido master right here, man. Josh Quinlan. Shout out to him. We always love that on a program like this. All right, man. I'm going to be completely frank with you, AJ, and this is going to be embarrassing because I should do my homework, and I always do my homework. This is what this program is for. It's for fight film, for fight study, right? Tape study and all that. I missed this one. This one went completely unscathed to me, but what I have been tracking, even though I have been watching tape on these fighters, I've been tracking the line movement. And the line movement has shown that Judas, I think that's Carly Judas, that sound about right? I think she opened up as a very large underdog and is slowly but surely creeping all the way back up to plus 135 against Gabriela Fernandez. So I know you have a play here. Talk to the people.
That's exactly what I was going to say, Derek. There's a reason money is moving. I thought it was Judice. So if I'm wrong, either way, Judas, Judice, whatever the case, there's reason money is moving towards her. And that's why I'm going with the over for the parlay bet right here. Both of these fighters are very, very talented, but also, like we said before, a little unknown. So a lot of money's moving on Judice because she is very talented in the ground, right? She has some power too as well, but she's able to get to positions that makes her have advantages in the fight. But if you look on the other end, Fernandez as well, man, she has a lot to offer. That's why I like this one for the over 2.5.
Let me talk to you real quick about another women's MMA match, AJ, that I think is really interesting right here. Josephine Knudsen, right? The Khamzat Chimaev kind of camp right there versus Julia Polastri. This is all that I got to say here. I'm not betting on this fight. I just want to make that super clear, right? But I've seen Knudsen. I've seen her fight live, man. Kickboxer with some good takedowns, and she smothers. That's what she does, man. Does it very well. This Polastri right here, dude, I don't know if you checked her out. She's sick, dude. Her Muay Thai is sick. Striking with reckless abandon type sick, right? The type that if Knudsen keeps this fight standing, they're both very technical in their own different ways, but I could see Polastri just purely overwhelming Knudsen to get a plus money victory right here. That is if she could keep the fight off of the ground, right? So I want to know, do you know anything about this one? Are you locked into this one at all? What are your thoughts here?
I haven't seen much on Polastri. I remember Knudsen, what was it, the Marnik Man fight?
Yeah, we don't count that, right? Yeah, we don't count that fight. Come on, bro.
So, like I said, don't really know much about either of them, I guess. But no, this with Knudsen, I know she has that potential to be hurting people. I'm excited to see what Polastri does in this because if you're right, Derek, she comes in and just manhandles people. We got a new star that's going to be in the 125, 115 pound class.
That's it, bro. And this is what I'll just say here. Knudsen, I think, has a lot of hype on her, a lot of expectation on her. So that fight against Marnich Man, given that she couldn't finish Man, was very, very telling. I was like, oh, okay, that's not a good look. I remember betting that fight because it was live. I was there, right? And I was all like, yo, we're betting a TKO finish the whole night. I think it was either TKO or a sub that I had bet on. And everyone's just like booing her out the crowd, man. We're just like, yo, what's going on? You're just laying on Marnich Man, who we've seen, no disrespect. It takes real, listen, all praise to the fighters. We love fighters here. But there's UFC level fighters and then there's just regional level. And I don't think that Marnich Man was on the UFC level yet. So this is the test. This is the real debut for Knudsen right here. Can she get it done against Polastri, who got a very big TKO victory on the Dana White Contender Series, man, which I just recommend everybody go check it out. Like, it's a fun fight to watch and it's quick and it's pretty early. So with that being said, I just say watch this fight. I'm not betting, but in my head, I'm betting Polastri, so I'm hoping that we hit a plus money victory right here, baby. Let's go. All right, man. And then that's pretty much everything, bro, right? We've covered just about everything. We didn't truly cover Costa, Nerdenbecka, but, that's going to be a fun fight. And then did we hit the, Heiston versus Armfield? It's going to be a good one. I don't really got anything else. We gave you guys the goodness. We don't want to hit you with anything extra. So with that being said, let's go ahead and let's round this thing out. We made it to another outro, folks. Next week, as we said, UFC Saudi Arabia, mix up, right? Whitaker versus Alaskarov. So fight prep is already done on the Alaskarov camp. Let's go watch some Whitaker camp and go see how we round this thing out. But aside from that, man, it feels good to be back. AJ, per usual, take us out of here, brother.
Feels great to be back. And like Derek said before, we said early in the show, you're winning money or you're losing money either way. Let us know down below because it keeps us accountable. Nobody else is doing that. And I know nobody else is winning you money like we are. Your favorite fighter's favorite fight show, folks. It feels great to say it, to be back in the seat again. And we're going to be here continuously making money for you week in and week out. So make sure you're subscribed. It's going to be a fun one this week. It's going to be a fun one next week. And like we said, winning you money all the time. What else do you want? Make sure you subscribe, folks.
Don't forget, on the road to 1,000 subscribers, we're almost there, and you can help. You specifically, you watching this right now, you can assist us in that chase right there. If you're not subscribed already, go ahead and subscribe. Hit the notification bell so that you can go ahead and actually see the picks before fight night. That's how you make the money. But more important, tell a friend to tell a friend. Referrals are everything, man. So everybody you know has a need that we can fulfill, and that's what we're here to do. So with that being said, that's it for us, folks. Catch us next week on Monday for the post show. We're going to break down all the madness, and until next time. Peace.